Let's build Vaalmonica? And welcome back to Let's Learn, YugiTube's most indecisive deck building show. I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, and today we're looking at Vaalmonica, a brand new archetype of pendulums and links that I believe is coming to Master Duel shortly. We don't know exactly. This is just a rumor. Keep it under your hat. But I believe we're supposed to be getting this and Fire Kings sometime in the next month. And even though Fire Kings is the more meta deck, I asked my patrons which they would prefer me to learn, and they wanted the confusing Pendulum deck. So that's what we're going to do. As the name of the show implies, we will be learning this deck from scratch. I currently have no idea what these do or how they work, so I'm just going to be reading over everything in here, trying to use my years of Yu-Gi-Oh! Experience to get it done. As a result, we won't be building the best Vaalmonica deck, or even necessarily a good Vaalmonica deck, but we should be building a functional one that gives you an idea of how the archetype works and what all the cards do. So whether you're new to Yu-Gi-Oh! In general, or just new to this archetype, you should have an idea of where to get started. But before we get to all that, I want to give a special thanks to this episode's sponsor, the patrons. The patrons are down in chat. They are the ones responsible for making this. If you don't know, every month I do a special Patreon hangout. Everyone who donates $1 or more can join in, and we get to do a bunch of different events. We can play Jackbox, we can play Gardic Phone, fun little party games. But they've also decided today that we'll be doing a Let's Build, and they're the one who chose Vaalmonica, so it's thanks to them that you're getting a little extra content. And you know, if you want to join them, there's a link down in the description, patreon.com/hardleggaming. You know, we appreciate any help. Join the community, have a fun time. Otherwise, let's go ahead and verb into Vaalmonica. Alright, so I've done enough of these by now that you should know where we always start. There's one kind of card that generally unifies all the effects in an archetype, and the patrons already have a great idea. Look at them down there, dutifully counting out the field spell. At least some of them. Some of them are making jokes, and they will suffer for it later. But we do look at the field spell first, and this archetype does have a field spell. The Vaalmonica, the agathocalogical... the agathocacological voice, which, oh boy, is that a mouthful. I know it looks like a piano, but I just want to be like, it's the Vaalmonica harmonica. You know, it's the musical instrument, it rhymes, there we go. Anyway, it's a field spell, and when this card is activated, you can add one Vaalmonica monster from your deck to your hand. Okay, I don't like to interrupt things, but anytime you have a card that searches like any monster in the archetype, that's a 3 of. We're instantly just putting 3 of those in the deck. Consistency is key in Yu-Gi-Oh! So if you ever see a card that says add 1X from deck to hand, you automatically make that a 3 of. Okay, let's see what else this does. If a card in your Pendulum zone has a 3rd resonance counter placed on it, you could target one monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end phase, but it cannot declare an attack. You can only use this effect once per turn, and you can only activate one of these once per turn. Alright, so we got a counter-based deck. That's interesting. It's already got pendulums and links, which are kind of hard to understand, and we're going to add counters on top of it. Stealing a monster is pretty good. It only works until the end phase, though, and it can't attack. We can possibly link it off. I mean, we do have some links and everything. But, oh, these are generic. One effect monster. Okay, so you can build these with anything. And normally I would say, like, if you're looking at a deck, the next place you want to go after the field spell is the extra deck. Usually those are going to be the boss monsters that identify your win condition. But in this case, these are very importantly Link 1 monsters, which means they're pretty low investment. Usually Link 1s are consistency tools. They're things that are going to search you cards or get you more cards, or in this case, it looks like they're removal. When you activate the field spell, you can then get rid of whatever card you stole. So in this case, I'm actually going to say avoid the Link 1s for now, and instead let's look at the monsters we have here. There's only 3 of them, 2 pendulums that are very similar in design, and 1 regular monster. I'm going to assume that if this isn't the win condition, it's at least a very core part of the deck. I suspect that everything will run around it, because we've had a few decks before where they only have like 1 main deck monster, stuff like Sky Striker, where Ray is incredibly important. So let's see if this card is the Ray of the archetype. Celtrice Vaalmonica. It's a level 4 water spellcaster with 1200 attack, 1200 defense, and the following effect. While you control a monster except a copy of itself, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is normal or pendulum summoned, you can add 1 Vaalmonica card from your deck to your hand except for a copy of itself. If this card is sent to the graveyard and you have 2 Vaalmonica cards in your pendulum zones, add this to your hand. Okay, so we've got another searcher. That instantly means that it's a 3 of. We'll go ahead and add that. Normal or pendulum summoned, and we know we have pendulums. And then if it's sent to the graveyard while you have 2 in your scales, you can add this to your hand. Alright, so you're going to normal summon this. You're going to get 1 of your scales. I am assuming that we're going to have to play the scales at 3, so you'll hopefully open with 1 and then search the other one. And then you're going to link summon using this card, and because you did this, it'll come back to your hand. And then if you normal summon it, maybe you can pendulum summon it. Let me look, does this have a hard once per turn on it? Yes, you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. Okay, so even though you can get it back to your hand and then pendulum summon it, you can't search again, which is kind of unfortunate. I feel like a deck this simple probably should have something like that, but still a pretty neat little resource engine nonetheless. Of course, it isn't our win condition, and how the deck revolves around it is yet to be seen. So I guess we just go to the pendulum monsters, and neither of them seems more important than the other, so let's just start with the good one. This is Angelo Vaalmonica, a dark fairy pendulum, level 4 with 1200 attack and 2100 defense. It's got that booty. Its pendulum effect is each time you gain life points while you control a fiend monster card in your other pendulum zone, place 1 resonance counter on this card. Once per turn, when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can, immediately after this effect resolves, link summon 1 Vaalmonica link monster. Okay, so we're going to stop there real quick just to check on this part. Is this a fiend? Yes, it is. Okay, so if you have both, every time you gain life points, you can place a resonance. If your opponent declares an attack, you can link summon. So I'm guessing these links do something when they're summoned. We're linking during the opponent's turn. Although it doesn't lock you into Vaalmonicas or even saying you have to use specifically Vaalmonicas, so you could make anything. So maybe like SP Little Knight, IP, well I guess IP wouldn't do a whole lot during the battle phase. You could have like a Nightmare Unicorn or something like that. There's a bunch of different options of link monsters that do something when they're summoned. Alright, as for its monster effect, if this card is in your hand, you can discard 1 other card, take 1 Demono Vaalmonica from your deck, and place this card and that card in your pendulum zones. During your main phase, if this card was normal or special summoned this turn, you can banish 1 Vaalmonica normal spell trap from your graveyard, apply whichever effect on that card includes gaining life points. You can only use this effect once per turn. Alright, things are starting to get a little bit confusing. You know, oftentimes in Yu-Gi-Oh! They'll pick 1 or 2 mechanics and an entire archetype will theme around this, but we've got a whole lot going on. We have the counters that we're gaining that work with the field spell, we have pendulums, we have link monsters, we have linking during the opponent's turn, linking with the opponent's monsters, and now life point. I can't even remember, did I mention life point gain already? And then we also have spell traps that you can use by banishing from the graveyard, and it sounds like the spell traps have some kind of modular effect based on which of these 2 you have, or maybe both. We'll have to see. Either way, this looks like a key part of the combo, so I'm going to go ahead and put it to 3, and you know what, I'm going to go ahead and say this is a 3 of as well. Even though they do search the other one by discarding a card, who knows, maybe you want less, but it feels like these are all going to be crucial to the combo. We'll see though. So let's check out this one. Demono Vaalmonica. I kind of assumed that was going to be the name based on the previous one. A light fiend pendulum with 1200 attack, 2100 defense, level 4. It's also worth noting it has a pendulum scale of 5. This one has a pendulum scale of 3. So if you have these, you can only pendulum summon level 4 monsters, but like, these are all level 4. So once you get these two, you can pendulum summon all the other copies. Now I started with the pendulum effect first, but I want to see if this is actually the same as the other one. So let's start with the monster effect this time. If this card is in your hand, discard one other card, take the Angelo, and place... Okay, so if you get one of them and you have another card in hand, you can instantly set both of your scales. That's pretty neat. And then, of course, this searches either one of those scales. So it gets you to one gets you to the other one by discarding a card. Presumably you're going to be discarding these spell traps, and then this one has an effect that lets you banish a spell trap to get the effect. I assume this is going to be the same thing. Let's see. During your main phase, if this was normal or special summoned, you can banish one Vaalmonica spell trap, apply whichever effect on the card includes taking damage. Alright, so I guess this one burned you. I thought maybe it would burn the opponent, so like you burn them and heal you, but it looks like it's doing both to you. You know, the dark ones burn and the light ones, or I guess this is the light one. Kind of weird, they've got mixed attributes to go with their typing. Let's check out this pendulum effect real quick. Each time you take effect damage while you control a fairy monster in your other pendulum zone, place one resonant counter on this card. Monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack for every resonance counter on your field. Okay, so you've got these two. This one gains a resonance counter anytime you gain life points. This one gains one every time you lose one. If you have 3, do you have to remove these? No, just if a card in your pendulum zone has a 3rd resonance counter, you could target one and take control of it. Okay, so you're just building up resonance counters. You don't remove any of them, so that attack boost could be significant if we allowed it to build up long enough. Alright, so there's all the main deck monsters, and from here there's several different ways we could go. We could check out all the normal spell cards, because those have synergy with these, or we could check out the extra deck monsters. And I think that's where we want to go. I said earlier that these didn't seem like the win condition, but like, none of these are the win condition either. I'm starting to wonder if maybe they have one, or it's possible that their win condition is similar to Sky Strikers, that they're just an advantage deck. You don't have any big, beefy boss monster that's going to win you the game. You don't have a bunch of negates. Instead, you just have a recursive set of cards that are going to keep getting rid of your opponent's stuff and keep getting you resources until you have like 10 cards in hand and your opponent has nothing. And at that point, they just can't fight back against the overwhelming advantage that you've managed to generate. It's possible that that's what this is doing, and it's possible that this is just a bad deck. We'll see. Let's check out these Link monsters and see what the hell they do. Starting with the light, or the Dark Fairy. Once again, we've got a Dark Fairy and a Light Fiend. So this is Duralume, the Vaalmonica Heathen Hollow. Dark Fairy, as I said, Link 1 with 2500 attack. Alright, we got a pretty sizable beat stick. That's good. And it just takes one effect monster, so about as generic as you can get. Cannot be Link summoned unless you have 3 or more resonance counters on fairy monster cards in your pendulum zone. You can only special summon one of these once per turn. If this card is Link summoned, you can target monsters your opponent controls up to the number of resonance counters and destroy them. You can remove 3 resonance counters. This card can make up to 3 attacks each battle phase. Alright, I stand corrected. This Link 1 is somehow the win condition, at least close to it. I mean, when it's summoned, you can destroy at least 3 monsters, probably a lot more, because you have to have 3 counters just to summon it. And then you can attack up to 3 times, which isn't quite an OTK, but it's like 7,500. It's very close to an OTK. So yeah, very strong and interesting balancing effect here. I was wondering how you would make a Link 1 that just uses any effect monster and have it not be something that can be played in every single deck. And there you go. Can't Link summon unless you have 3 resonance counters on fairy monsters specifically. So it's just thematically, like, you gotta have this one. You have to have the light fairy to summon the light fairy. I assume that the dark fairy is the same? Yeah, you can't summon it. Yeah, so let's read this one. Let's see if this one... I mean, the light fairy seems to have some kind of, like, OTK ability, you know, big attack many times, destroy monsters. Does that mean this is the defensive one that has, like, negates or a floodgate or something? Let's see. This is Zebu Ferreira, the Vaalmonica Hollow Heathen. Wait 1 second. So this is the Heathen Hollow, and this is the Hollow Heathen. That won't be confusing at all. I guess we have to refer to them by their first names, but their first names are kind of hard to do. Okay, this is Duralipe, and this is Zeb. We just got Zeb the dragon. Cannot be special summoned, we know that part. You can only special summon once per turn. If a card you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can remove 3 pendulum counters from your pendulum zone instead. Once per opponent's turn, target one of your Vaalmonica normal spell traps that is banished or in your graveyard. Apply that card's activation effect. Alright, so it doesn't have the negation or the floodgate I was expecting. Does have a little bit of protection, only from destruction, but I mean it's better than nothing. And its quick effect once again relies on the spell traps, which, yeah, I can see why people consider this archetype to be confusing now. Because once again, it's not relying on any one thing. There's a lot of decks where it's like, there's a load-bearing card, you know, one big monster that does everything, whether it's a playmaker or some kind of boss or whatever. But this does really seem to just be like a whole bunch of interactive things that work together. Perhaps one of these spells will be amazingly better than the other ones. It is worth noting, target one of your... yeah, it's only the normal spell traps. And this is... okay, normal spell traps. So we can't get the field spell, but I mean, you wouldn't want to copy that anyway. We have one quick play that we can't activate, and everything else is a normal spell or trap. So I guess we'll just go down the line, check those out. Oh, before we do that though, real quick, let's just put one more of each link. I assume you want to play at least 2 of each. I can't imagine the extra deck is going to be especially tight in this archetype considering how few monsters you have, and you probably at least want a backup of this. Maybe this can be just 1, but for now 2 and 2 seems good. Anyway, Vaalmonica Disarmonia? That's a tricky one. Anyway, place 1 resonance counter on 1 card in your pendulum zone that you can place a resonance counter on. Then apply one of these effects. Either gain 500 life points and add a banished Vaalmonica card to your hand, or take 500 damage and add 1 Vaalmonica card from your graveyard to your hand, except another copy of itself. You can only activate 1 per turn. Alright, pretty interesting. So just by activating this, you get to place 1 resonance counter, and then it gains or takes life points. So this is essentially 2 resonance counters for the price of 1. I assume every card does this? Oh, not that one. Not that one. Not that, okay. So this one just, like, exclusive, and then it gains you more resonance counters. I thought for a second that it was going to be really, really easy to get 3 on board. You just had to activate 2 spells. It looks like it has to be at least 3, unless you get this one. Then this will be 2? 2-ish? Yeah. Of course, this is just a recovery card. You're just getting a card from your graveyard or banished and adding it to your hand. Considering you have to discard in order to use these effects, you'll probably almost always have this live. It is still a recovery card, and recovery cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are usually things that you want to have to, like, search or draw later in the deck. We'll see. I'll put this at 2 for now, and depending on how everything else goes, maybe we'll play more of this. Let's go ahead and check out these other ones first. We've got Vaalmonica Intonare. I think that's like a musical term. I guess that makes sense with like the harmonica we had earlier. Apply one of these effects. Unless you have a Vaalmonica card in your pendulum zone, your opponent chooses the effect. Gain 500 life points. Then if you have any monsters in your graveyard that can be special summoned, your opponent chooses 1 for you to special summon to your field. Or take 500 damage, then you can add 1 level 4 monster from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, so another recovery card, this time for monsters. If you don't have a Vaalmonica in your Pendulum, your opponent chooses which effect you use. That's kind of neat, it's kind of cute. They get to be the angel or the devil, you know, on your shoulder, which is kind of the theme here. If you couldn't tell from like the intro, we've got an angel and a devil kind of trying to tell her what to do. But in this case, the only monster you'll probably have in your graveyard, aside from a hand trap, is this girl. And I feel like it doesn't matter whether or not you special summon her or add her to your hand and then normal summon her. Either way, you're getting her on the field. Definitely interesting, but this is almost certainly going to be a one-of. I can't imagine wanting to play more of this, especially because this already adds itself back while you have the pendulum scales. I guess it could give you a hand trap back if you take the 500 damage, so there's that. We'll see how many hand traps we have room for in the end. Oh, yeah, someone in chat, I somehow skipped over that. I have to add a level 4 from your graveyard to your hand. So you'd have to have a level 4 hand trap, which I mean, those do exist. Maybe we're playing Skullmeister in here, that would be an interesting tech, but much less likely. We'll see. Either way, Vaalmonica Skelta. Helta Skelta? It's my Helter Skelter. Anyway, apply one of these effects, and unless you have a Vaalmonica, your opponent chooses the effect. Okay. Again, that's a weird thing, but I feel like you're almost always going to have one of the two scales. Gain 500 life points, place one card from your hand on the bottom of the deck, and then draw 2 cards. Or take 500, add a Vaalmonica spell trap from your deck to your hand, except another copy of itself. Alright, that feels like the second effect is just always better, it's just a searcher. Although your opponent gets to choose. Okay, so this is the first one I'm going to say that we're probably going to want to play at 3, because it's kind of a starter. The field spell does get you anything. Is it any Vaalmonica spell trap? Yeah, just one from your deck to your hand. So this searches the field spell. The field spell is a starter because it gets anything. And then your opponent can choose. And most likely, if you don't have any of your scales, if you're just trying to get started, they're going to be like, you know, instead you draw 2, you shuffle through. But I'm going to say that's a 3 of. Alright, next up we got Vaalmonica Versare. Same starting effect as before, your opponent chooses. You can gain 500 life points, excavate cards from the top of your deck until you excavate a Vaalmonica, and then add that to your hand, shuffle the rest into the deck. Or take 500 damage, send one Vaalmonica from your deck to the graveyard, except a copy of itself. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, so that does get you just about anything. That first one, it's basically just like draw until you get another card. So it does kind of help you potentially get into one of these. Of course, your opponent could just select the bottom effect and have it send a card to the graveyard. The spells are good in the graveyard, but only if you've already got set up. The monster is good in the graveyard, but only if you've got the resurrection. I could see maybe playing this at 2 or 3, just as another way to get into your spells, but I feel like we probably have enough. Either way, I'll put this at 2 as well. The quick play we'll save for last, and that just leaves us with the 2 traps. So let's start with this one, Vaalmonica Chosen Melody. Apply one of these effects. You must control a Vaalmonica monster to activate and resolve this effect. If you control a Vaalmonica Link monster, you can apply both effects in sequence. Gain 500 life points. For the rest of this turn, your opponent cannot target Vaalmonicas with card effects. Take 500. You can negate the effects of one effect monster your opponent controls until the end of this turn. You can only activate one of this per turn. Alright, so we finally got a negate. It's a negate that gives you some protection if you have the Link monster. And of course, if you have this with this monster, then you've basically got 2 negates, right? You're activating this to negate, then you're banishing it from the graveyard to negate again. That's pretty nice. Does it target? No, it's just negate the effects of one monster. So it's a non-targeting negate. Still doesn't destroy. It's interesting that you basically gain life points and then immediately lose them again. So you're at a net 0, but it'll trigger both of these, so each one will get a counter. You can increase your resonant counters those ways. Not sure if we should play more of these. It's definitely good going first. Maybe like, I'm gonna put it at 2 for now. Put a 2 and we'll see. And let's check out this other trap. I'm going to assume because this one is more defensive, maybe this one will be more offensive. Maybe we'll get a targeted pop or something. So apply one of these effects, you must control a Vaalmonica, and if you control a Link monster, you can do both effects. Gain 500, destroy one spell trap, take 500, return one monster on the field to the hand. Hell yeah. So we've got a bounce and spell trap removal. And spell trap removal in the form of a spell or trap that's an in-archetype card, always good. Gives you a heads up in decks like Labyrinth that are going to play a whole bunch of spell traps, and against the occasional stun decks that are going to play a whole bunch of floodgates. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is 2 as well. We'll put another one, depending on how quickly we can get to those. So far, I mean, we have the Searcher, and we have Searchers for the Searchers. We have a lot of draw cards. Maybe, I don't know, it feels like something you really want to start with. Maybe you don't want to see these going second, though. Hard to say, hard to leg. It's all gonna come down to this last card. It is a Vaalmonica, so we could search it, but it's a quick play, so it doesn't have the same, graveyard using effect as the other ones. This is Vaalmonica Invitare. Apply one of these effects. Special summon one Vaalmonica from the deck. Okay, 1 second. I'll put 3 of these. It's an extender if nothing else. It looks like there was a downside there. Let me double check this. Special summon one from the deck. For the rest of the turn, after this resolves, you cannot activate the effects of monsters on the field except Vaalmonicas. Okay. And if you control a non-pendulum Vaalmonica, you could take 2 pendulums with different names from your deck, add 1 from your hand, and add 1 to your extra deck. Interesting. So it doesn't get you both to your pendulum scales, but I mean, if you have one, you could discard a card to get the other, so it doesn't really matter. All right. So we've got a lot of starters, a lot of extenders, not very much in the way of removal or disruption. We've got the 2 traps. We do have ways to search them. This is a case where we're really going to have to do some testing to see how quickly we can get into these. Because getting into these is pretty important as far as having removal. This is part of your win condition. It definitely seems like this is an advantage deck. We're going to be wanting to resolve these over and over again and then recycle them. And speaking of recycling, let's real quick again, let me look at this. This has to do specifically with monsters. This one is a banished Vaalmonica card or a Vaalmonica card. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just say this is a 3 of, because we're going to have ones in the graveyard. We're going to be discarding to activate these effects. So I think this is going to be critically important, if nothing else, for recycling these ones. And then now that we've done that, it's just a matter of filling in the deck with tech cards. And I'm hesitant, as always, to just put a bunch of hand traps in, because I feel like that's what we've done last time. But in this case, it seems like the most prudent thing to do. You know, we've got a card that gets level 4s out of the graveyard. We've got links that can be made with any effect monster. So there's a chance that, if you get either of these, but you don't have this, you can just, normal summon an effect veiler and turn it into one of these 2. So it actually makes sense as far as strategically to have as many monsters that you can normal summon as possible, and just have those also be hand traps in case you get something else. So let me look through our hand trap lineup. Let's see what the hell we can get in here. All right, and there we go. A whole bunch of hand traps, mostly the usual suspects, Maxi, Ash, Effect Veiler. Put in a couple Ghost Ogre. I considered Nibiru, but again, you want monsters that you can normal summon and use for the links if possible, so a level 11, not very good. And then this was the only level 4 hand trap I could find that was really worth it. You can use Honest and Dark Honest because we have light and dark monsters. Probably not worth it to have a battle trap at this day and age. This is probably going to be more useful against both Fire Kings and Snake Eyes because it negates stuff in the graveyard. And I believe it's an SR on Master Duel, which is what we're building for. So, should be easier to craft. And of course, we can get it back with this. It's just a nice level 4. And then because we have so many level 4s, the entire archetype is level 4s plus this, and we can pendulum summon all of these. We have the ability to make rank 4 Ixies. Because we've got level 3 tuners combined with this, we have the ability to make level 7 synchros. And of course, there's just links and stuff. So I'm going to fill in the extra deck next. And as I always say, this is one of those things where it's really hard to explain my thought process here, because a lot of it is just using years of Yu-Gi-Oh experience. just kind of knowing like, oh, this is a Pendulum deck, so I'll probably want Electromite. Oh, this is level 7s, maybe Black Rose Moonlight. We got rank 4s, that probably means Baguska. There's a lot of common things that you just run into over and over again, and you only really learn that by playing Yu-Gi-Oh! A bunch yourself, or watching other people's deck profiles, which is a good, you know, once you've read all the cards, checking out a deck profile is usually a pretty good idea now that you know how everything works. Although personally, I like to try to build it myself first, because you never know when you might come up with like a new tech people haven't thought of. But yeah, let's go ahead and fill in that extra deck. La la la, and there you go, a fully made up extra deck. Whole bunch of stuff in here, pretty much everything that I said before. There's nothing too crazy or spicy. I think the closest thing would be Heartland Draco. This is a rank 4 that can attack directly by detaching a material, and then you can then go into Zeus, the Sky Thunder. Sometimes in a simplified game state, or just if you're going second, this is going to be really good to like bait stuff out. If they only have one negate, it's unlikely that they'll use it on this, and they might forget that the Sky Thunder is coming. And then you could do some other stuff. While I'm talking about spicy techs, I should probably mention why we're not playing Called by the Grave, because this is usually a Master Duel staple, but it's usually a staple because you have to worry about Maxi and Ash. And while Ash does stop a couple of our things, we have quite a few cards that get around it. Like the Pendulum Scales don't add to hand or summon from the deck, they just place them in the Pendulum zones. We've got another card that like excavates, I forget which one, but it's like excavate until you get one, and I don't think Ash can stop that. And then Maxi really doesn't have a lot it can do to us, because I think most of the time we're just going to be like Pendulum summoning, which is one summon no matter how many cards you do, and then maybe we'll make a Link 1, or we could even just wait till our opponent's turn and then Link summon when they attack. Although that'd probably be too late, but the fact that we can do it means we do have kind of an off-ramp. And then from there, the next step is just testing the deck, which is going to be a little bit difficult this time, trickier than the last couple. There's not really like a strong go-first combo potential that I can see. It feels like it's a very non-linear deck, and it does feel like the win condition is to just generate advantage over several turns. You're just trying to do the best you can, and then survive so that you can do even more next turn. And hopefully by turn 3, turn 4, you've just got so many more cards than your opponent that you can defeat them. And the only real way to test that is to load in against an opponent and see what we can do. Fortunately, on this simulator, YGO Omega, they do have some AI decks. They're not really updated, they're not the most competent, but they should give us a pretty good idea of how to play it. At least as good of an idea as you can get by playing on the Master Duel solo mode, which is also really good for testing. You know, you're not going to get hand-trapped while you're playing it, but they will have monsters you can face against, and they'll give you some idea of how this deck can work. If we can at least beat up an AI and show that the deck can function under those conditions, then that's the first step towards making something that can stand up to get to an actual opponent. So let me test this a little bit, and I'll come back with a duel or two to show you what Vaalmonica do. Alright, we're loading up against the Sky Striker AI. I believe this might play a hand trap, including like Maxi, possibly? Oh yeah, there it goes. So it should give us a good idea of what to do. Now what I learned from my few test hands is that you really want to open up with as many spells as possible. If I had to do a second draft of this, I would probably add in some more spells, maybe less hand traps, which is unfortunate because that means this deck is not quite as viable, but it is interesting. Either way, we've got this. Let's go ahead and normal summon. Activate the effect, see if we could search something. Alright, and because we don't have any of the Pendulum monsters, I think we want to go for the field spell, because the field spell will get us a Pendulum monster. So we'll activate this. We'll add, it doesn't matter, either one from our deck to our hand. And then, what are we going to do from here? So this one is the one that lets us summon from the graveyard, which is the least useful one. Although it does potentially get us back the Skullmeister. So yeah, we can use this. We can activate, place the Skullmeister, and get this one. Hey ho, what you wanna know? Then we're going to activate this. we're going to add to our hand. We'll take 500. And generally, the thing that I've learned also is that the dark monster is... I keep saying the dark monster because it's dark colored, you know. It's got that background, but it's actually a light monster. The Fiend. The Fiend monster is the one that you want to make first turn if you can help it, because it has a more defensive effect, something that's going to help you survive. While the light monster, not so much. In this case, we can't make either, though, because we don't have enough spells to get us to 3 resonance counters. So instead, we're just going to set this trap. Fortunately, we open with this. It's a weird double-edged sword, because opening with this means that now we have something we can do in addition to the hand traps to actually stop our opponent. But this also isn't something that, like, gets us more resonant counters, which is what we really need. If we want, we could also make Baguska here, because we can actually Pendulum summon this level 4. And even though the trap says you must control a Vaalmonica monster card to activate, because it has that word card, that means you don't have to have a monster in the monster zone. These Pendulums are monster cards, even if they're on the field as spells. So we can still activate these, we just have to choose between destroying a spell trap or bouncing a monster to the hand. Against Sky Striker, that's not going to be great. Baguska's not going to be great. So let's just go ahead. Fortunately, we know what our opponent's playing. And they're going to steal it with Widow Anchor, which is unfortunate. But, you know, that's what happens. Oh no, they're going to negate it with Widow Anchor because they don't have enough spells. Now they're going to answer. Also, I just realized I'm probably a little big here. Let's make me a little smaller. Whoop, 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 whoop. And here we go with the problems with the AI. We're like, they're certainly doing some stuff, man. Probably not stuff that an actual Sky Striker pilot would do. Yeah, we're just gonna have to let them get their Widow Anchor. Going for Kagari. Okay, let them go into the battle phase, and then we don't want them to get that effect. So we'll use this now. Oh yeah, they can just remake it. Turn 1 monster to the field, yeah, go back. Oh, I forgot, Skullmeister! We can negate the ray! You can't come out of the graveyard! I haven't played Skullmeister in so long, I forgot what it even did. And they stole our dang monster. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do. I mean, there's not much we could do anyway. We still only have... What was it? We need to have 3 counters on one of them specifically, so yeah. We'll take it back. Okay, they didn't have anything. Good, most good indeed. Yeah, I think we just go into battle. And this is the problem you're seeing. It's like, you need your spells. If you don't get any spell counters, there's not much you can do with this. Oh, they got themselves an engage. They're engaging, baby! Go, Token! Go, Effect Veiler? Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. And let's do this again. Now they have a monster in the main monster zone that they can't get out. Come on, Vaalmonica spell. That's not the one you want to see, but I think it'll work. Okay, so we can activate this. Add a monster from deck to hand. Yeah, we just get another one of her. Or we could get one and then use an effect from the graveyard. But I think in this case, we just want another one of her. Then we'll go ahead and normal summon. Activate the effect. Grab myself. Alright, after much deliberation, I think we're going to go for this one because it lets us put a resonance counter on the field in addition to doing what we want to do. In this case, we want to add one from our graveyard. So we'll activate this, we'll give the counter to this one, then we'll take the 500 damage to put the 3rd counter on this one, and then we'll add back this. Maybe we should have gone for the trap. Trigger the effect. Which effect? Is it the one where we get to steal a monster? Oh, okay. Yay, I like to steal a monster. Is it when a 3rd one is added? Yeah, it's when a 3rd one is added. Okay, that's not as good as I thought. If this didn't search cards, it wouldn't be a 3-up, but you saw it got us out of this problem here. But now that we've got that, we can activate this. We can put a 3rd one on this. Special summon whatever they choose out of the graveyard. And now that we've got 3 of each, we could just make both of these as long as we plan it properly. Like, we can get the Hollow Heathen, put it there. We can get this one, send it over. Because it was sent to the graveyard and we have both pendulum scales, we could do it. We still haven't pendulum summoned. Then we'll go ahead, we'll remove 3 from here to attack 3 times. And there's game. Granted, it took them, you know, they had to mess up, but we also didn't get the best hand. So you know what, let's go ahead and do a second one of these. Let's see if we can get a hand that has like more than one spell in the opener, and see if I can show a little bit better of an opening this time. This is full combo. Oh yeah, this might be full combo. This is a very strange one. Okay, so first of all, we want to get our scales, and I think in this case, what we want to do is activate this. We will discard a card, and we'll get rid of the trap. We'll go ahead and put this here, and then we'll activate Skelta, whatever. We want to add a Vaalmonica spell trap from our deck to our hand. So we'll pay 500, and we'll get, I think we want the field spell, right? Because the field spell gets us the other monster, which we need. So we'll activate this. We'll add the monster. You! And then we can pendulum summon both of these. We'll get you and you. And obviously when this one's summoned, we get something, unless they effect Valor it. That puts a little damper on our plays. I forgot that this had hand traps in it. Alright, so this can... we'd have to give up our max C, but we need to get into more stuff. So let's... yeah, target this one, we'll banish it, and then we'll gain the effect. Put this on the bottom, draw 2 cards. Well, we got our way to our trap, and we still have a hand trap, so we're better off than we were. We unfortunately didn't make our way into enough counters where we can make the link again, which is kind of tricky, and I'm not sure exactly how you stop that, but we are ending with like a floodgate, plus a monster bounce, plus graveyard shenanigans. So let's see if this is a little stronger. Okay, so Ray immediately goes to the graveyard, and yeah, I think, you know, because it's in defense, what we want to do is just activate this. We'll... oh, it negates the effects. I got the wrong... well, fuck it. You're negated. I got the wrong... I'm so dumb. Oopsie doodle! And now they've got links that can just go over Bagooska. Bagooska doesn't matter. Anyone can see. Okay, the fortunate thing about this is that during the standby phase, Bagooska will detach, and we'll get to add this back, because if it goes to the graveyard while we have pendulum scales, we could just do stuff. Move Bagooska to attack, and let's see here. If we gain 1 more point on this, then we can just steal Shizuku. That'll be pretty cool. And this one adds, yeah, so we'll just do this. Ash. Unfortunate. That is most unfortunate indeed. Yeah, and then we normal summon this, and they have the... oh, that's even worse. Solemn warning! Well, sometimes you gamble, and sometimes your opponent has everything. I mean, we're not dead. We can make the Zeus caboose. It's on the loose. Or not. Maybe they'll just... maybe they'll pay all the things to do that. Too many solemns. Yeah, see, I thought they were setting all the Widow anchors in the background, but not quite. And this is another case where what we really need to do is top deck a spell so we could steal this and then link it off. That would be really nice, but we don't get one. And once again, you're seeing the problem of, like, you kind of need hand traps to survive in this format, but you also need to draw as many Vaalmonica spells and traps as possible. Granted, I did mess up. One more try. I swear we got it this time. Okay, going first for the third time. And this time we got like everything we could ever want, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. We'll go ahead and use this one. We'll grab the main girl, Cetrice. We'll hope she doesn't get ashed. Alright. I think we want the one that adds... Yeah, and then we can get one back from the graveyard. So, yeah. We'll do this. Yeah. Then we'll activate this. We'll send this to the graveyard. Put these two up here. Then we activate the effect. We're going to put a counter on this. Take 500. Add a Vaalmonica back. Then we'll activate this. We're going to special summon a... Take 2, add 1 to your hand, and the other... Wait, this is even better. Yeah. Okay. So we'll add you to a hand and you to the extra deck. Whatever. Either way, it doesn't matter. And then we're going to pendulum summon both of these. So you go here, you go into the extra deck, and then this one, we want the one that makes us lose life points. We'll banish this, and we'll add back this. And now we finally have 3 counters on the field, which means we can summon the Heathen. Hey, how's it going? And we've got the trap. So not only do we have the Heathen, but we can get the Heathen with Baguska. That's twice as many. Now this is a quick play. We could set it and use it during our opponent's turn, but it doesn't really do anything. I'm pretty sure. Unless, what does this affect? No, you can only summon a Vaalmonica. Well, yeah, we might be able to use this. We'll see. Go ahead to the end phase. And they're using twin twisters on my pendulum scales. They just have everything. They have solemns, they have hand traps, they have twin twisters. I think we use this anyway. What is this? Oh, I could target a banished one. Yeah, I don't really want to do that one. Okay. So let's just special summon a Vaalmonica from the deck. Let's put another U onto the field. It doesn't get its effect when it's special summon, but it's there. Oh yeah! We can avoid destruction. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. It sucks to lose the 3 counters we fought so hard to get, but it allows us to keep the scales, which means we can do everything. Okay, so now they're activating spells, they're drawing cards, of course they have Engage, why wouldn't they have Engage? They always have the Engage! This time I know we've got the negation, so we can go ahead, we'll just negate that. We'll apply both. Yeah, and then they can't target with card effects. Okay. So negate this. Then they go into that. Is this during the main phase, or is this just... No, once during the opponent's turn. Alright. So they're getting another ray. More spells from the spell god. They go to battle phase, and that's when we use this effect. We target this, and yeah, we just apply both effects. Negate this so it can't attack directly. Oh, what do you know? We got 3 counters, so you know what? Let's just not even negate it. Let's steal it as well. It's only until the end of this turn, but we've got it. It stops them from linking it up into anything else. And then Baguska has to detach. It instantly comes back. We switch to effects, or attack mode. Let's go ahead and normal summon this. They will Solemn Judgment. That is unfortunate. But I believe that we're still pretty good. Let's see. We need to gain life points. Oh, this already has 3. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna Pendulum Summon just this. In attack mode. I'm not afraid. We'll use the effect, we'll banish the trap, negate one monster, and then because this gained 3, we'll steal their monster. And then we'll go ahead and make the light one. Bada bingo, bada bango. They have nothing left. And then we'll use this effect. We'll remove 3 counters, and that's way, way more than lethal. 2,500 attack 3 times, plus everything else. So, there you go. That's what the, you know, if you get a good hand, and you do the thing, and you don't fuck it up, this deck can do some pretty cool stuff. It's just a matter of getting the good hand. Alright, so now that we've played this in several duels, now that we have a good idea of how the deck works, what did we learn? Well, I don't think that we want to play these traps at 2. As good as they are, we do have a lot of search power, we do have a lot of recursion, and because the link monsters don't banish them like I originally thought they did, they just target them, once you get them into the graveyard and you get the links, you can just use them every single turn. So it's probably better to put them in the graveyard, which means this is a much better card than I thought, because it can just send these traps to the graveyard, or you can excavate until you get something else. And because you really need to activate like 3 spell cards during your first turn to get your links online, being able to just have something that you can activate and it doesn't matter which effect you get, it'll help you, very, very useful. It's possible we don't even want to play the Effect Veilers or the Ghost Ogres. Maybe just take those out and instead we get that other Vaalmonica trap. This is again the least useful one. It's not something you necessarily want to do, but if nothing else it just gains or loses life points. Of course that unfortunately means this is not the strongest deck. It's definitely not competitive, may not even necessarily be rogue tier. In fact, you might even want to remove these and put in the Called by the Graves, because as I learned from that, this deck is more susceptible to hand traps than I imagined. Something like Ghost Ogre, something like Effect Veiler, can actually put a damper on your plays. Even the Ash Blossom, you really need those searches. So put those in instead and just play the bare minimum, the Maxi, the Ash. Maybe you want to replace this with something else. I kind of like having the level 4s because they serve like a dual function. You can make that Baguska more easily, but it really depends on the format. I haven't looked at the Fire Kings. Maybe this will be better. Who knows? I might have to do another Let's Learn pretty soon looking at the Fire Kings. Let me know down in the comments if you'd want me to do that. For now though, I think I've had enough of Vaalmonica. We know the deck pretty well. If I wanted to build it, I have a solid idea of where to start. I can understand deck profiles pretty easily. I know what almost everything does. If I see a combo line at ×2 speed, I can parse what's happening. And perhaps more importantly, if we do run up against this, we kind of know like what its weaknesses are, where to stop it, how to get rid of things. Graveyard removal, especially stuff like DD Crow. Actually, that doesn't do anything because the Link monster can target a banished card too. Banish this all you want, it won't help you. So I guess you really need like Kaijus to get rid of the Link monsters. Or just make sure you use all your removal on Seltrees, because she's a hard once per turn and she searches everything. Although in general, you know, that just feels like it's got a pretty big weak point and it's pretty obvious even if you haven't played the deck. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you again to Twitch chat for joining me, to the patrons for sponsoring this. And thank you to Critter for watching silently from the back rooms. Did you have a special message for today's episode? Something you want to tell everyone? I went this whole episode without saying anything political, and then you have to go in here and... Which... Jeez, okay. He's excited. We gotta get him on the other channel, on the politics channel. He'll be able to... We'll have a whole episode by him next April, you'll see. Anyway, until next time, good luck, and have fun. I gotta look at the OCG cards. I mean, I feel like they couldn't add anything to this deck. It feels pretty cohesive as it is. There's only 2, and most likely these aren't coming to Master Duel as far as I know, but sure, we'll go ahead and give it a look. I mean, they have another Link monster. It's a Link 2 with 3,000 attack. Damn. I thought the other one had pretty high attack. Okay, this is Valar, Vaalmonica Hollow Hymn. Link 2, Water Spellcaster, 3000 attack, 2 monsters including a Vaalmonica Link monster, so the Link plus anything else. Unaffected by non-Vaalmonica cards while there are 6 or more resonance counters on your field. This card gains an additional attack each battle phase for every level 4 Vaalmonica you control. Once per turn, when your opponent would special summon, quick effect, negate the summon and destroy, then remove 3 resonance counters? Holy fuck! Wow! I am once again wrong. This is the win condition. Congratulations, they have a boss monster, and a hell of a boss monster. Negate summons, unaffected by card effects, attacks multiple times. You get the angel and the devil on here, and you've got a blue eyes that attacks 3. That's just game by itself. If you make the light one first, you destroy the field, and then you can absolutely OTK, as long as you get anything. You Pendulum. If you don't OTK, as long as you've got all the counters on the field, you've got like a million billion. Wow. Wow, that is just so good. I'm not sure if this puts it in the realm of competitive viability because you need 6 counters to really do anything. And we struggled just to get 3 on the field. Like, it's hard enough to get the Link 1s, much less this. But, I mean, if you can survive for 2 turns, this can absolutely close out games once you get it summoned. Good job, Konami. They've also got a trap. I can't imagine that the trap would be super effective, but I mean, if your job is to stall to get to this, maybe the trap helps you out with that. Let's see. Got Vaalmonica Creator. This is a continuous trap. Vaalmonica Link monsters gain 1200 attack while there are 6 or more resonant counters on your field. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If your opponent special summons a monster, except during the damage step, immediately after this effect resolves, Link summon 1 Vaalmonica Link monster. If this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, place resonant counters on 1 card in your Pendulum zone that you can place a resonant counter until it has 3. Oh, okay. Well then, that's a fine how do you do. I was reading the first half and I was like, that's not that great. The Vaalmonicas are already pretty strong. Giving 1200 when you have 6 counters doesn't do anything. You can already OTK without that. When your opponent special summons, you can Link summon. We've already got an effect that does that. Link summoning during the opponent's turn isn't great because you need the counters. But this is worth playing at least 1, maybe more copies, just so you can activate that 3rd effect. That makes this card that sends in a card to the graveyard absolutely a 3 of. Because now you can just activate that, send this, and instantly put 3 counters on one of your cards. Wow, they gave us a 1-card combo that gets us 3, and then they gave us a huge payoff. Oh, from hand or field. Oh, did I misread that? Oh, it is hand or field. Okay, never mind. It's not that exciting. You can still search it, and then if you use it with one of these, like send it to the graveyard to get your 2 sides on, then you get all 3 counters on it. I'm not sure if you played it 3 just to do that. Who knows? Maybe you, is there other stuff that like discards that you might want to put, like, fuck. Dark World Dealings, maybe? No, that lets your opponent set up. I'd have to look. There's definitely some potential here. They've definitely got something that you can do. I'm just not sure of the ratios, but hot diggity daffodil. Rarely do we see those 2 cards that do so much for the deck. If this was a spell, this deck would go from like instant rogue tier. Just being able to add 3 to anything, that's crazy. Yeah. So, I'm not going to test or build these, but, you know, if you like the deck, if you thought it was interesting, there's more support coming, and it absolutely makes the deck better. So look forward to that. Otherwise, let's go ahead and sign off for real. Just go ahead and whoosh, whoosh.